Now, I just have to write the thing. Welcome to this first video in a brand new series. Now with these videos, I intend to use them as a kind of diary to document my journey from day 0 all the way through to, hopefully, publishing my debut novel. The current working title for this project is The Christmas Gift, and as with my main project, Russet, this is going to take place in the form of a third-person point of view from an animal. In this case, a family dog. Now, other than the initial idea for the story and the kind of semi-worked out plot, I've made no progress whatsoever in actually turning that into any piece of written work, which is part of the reason I decided to start this channel, because I thought it'd be interesting for other aspiring writers like myself to see someone trying to work through the process, a process which I'm still very much unfamiliar with. So I'm also certainly learning as I'm going. If you haven't done so already, I would strongly recommend going back and watching my introduction video first to get a kind of an overview of who I am and how I got involved with writing, and my goals for both this channel and the writing itself. And for this first very short video, I decided that my first step should be to write down an overview of the plot in full, by which I mean not in detail, but just a very brief kind of overview of the plot from start to finish that I had in mind, so that I had it at least in a concrete position. So that is where this whole series begins. So, the first step I've decided to take for this one is to completely jot down the synopsis for the story I had in my head. Prior to starting the channel, I did already make a short page of notes for the general idea, but now was time to really get it down on a start-to-finish overview of the story. This is something I didn't do for Russ, having started virtually from nothing and letting things come naturally together as I just wrote away. However, this time I decided to try this different, more planned approach. I've blurred out the main meat of the story because, well, we wouldn't want to spoil it now, would we? Now we're back at my current haircut just for a moment so that I can move on to the next step. After coming up with a story and jotting it down, including settings, dramas, turning points, and the doggy main character, what do we call him? Now for this one, I am following exactly the same idea as I did for naming a lot of the characters in Russet, which is to think about what sort of character this is, their traits, their personality, their appearance, etc.
Magic. And
use those as prompts to stick into Google Translate in whatever language makes for a good sounding name. Of course, Latin is the go-to, because, well, Latin always seems to make for cool names. That's not Latin, but I'm currently learning Japanese and I thought Tomo or Dachi sounded kind of fun. Once I determined that Latin unfortunately wouldn't work in this book, I moved on to Plan B, closing my eyes, randomly flicking through different languages, and clicking. Estonian. Interesting. This process actually gave me some quite interesting names that would suit a dog. Arma, Kutsi, Sikas. Not that. Until, eventually, after moving through German, Catalan, Persian, and several more randomly chosen languages, I finally had a name that seemed just about perfect.